Welcome to From the AD's View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. On today's show, we're going to discuss sports, education, entertainment, family, and faith, and how those things separately or combined impact our lives. Let's get it. Welcome back to the show. Before we get started, as I do every episode, I want to give honor to God who's the head of my life because without him, none of the things that I do here on the show in life would be possible. And just in case you missed the show last week, we had our Easter episode, where my mother, Patricia A. Brown, and my pastor, J. Scott Meeks, were a part of the show, and we spoke about Resurrection Sunday and what that meant to our guests and what it meant to me. We had a tremendous show, and if you weren't able to see last week's show, you can always catch From the AD's View. If you go on the Leon Thomas Group's YouTube channel, you can always catch myself. You can catch my teammate Jasmine Pollock on First Impressions Talk. On her show, you can see 60 Minutes in Black America with Mr. Michael Haney. There's a lot of talent in the Leon Thomas Group, and you can go to the Leon Thomas YouTube channel and see those. And tonight, I have another very special guest, a young man that has been a part of my life since 2001. He is a fantastic former student athlete, grew up into a great young man, former law enforcement officer, former chief of police. He's a University of North Dakota graduate, also a graduate of Parkland College, where I was able to coach this young man for a year. He's a Parkland College Hall of Fame inductee. And like I said, he is a former law enforcement official. KP, Keith Parks, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Coach, man. Appreciate you having me on this evening. Really appreciate it a lot.
Man, it's like we were talking, in the studio, in the green room. It's been 22 years, man, since, I was able to meet the Keith Parks, and our meeting I was like, man, that dude looked like Michael Jordan. That dude looked like MJ. His mannerisms, long arms. You're able to stand up tall and scratch below your knees and things like that, man. So welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show. And I know that you've shared out the show. Before we were able to back in the green room. I was able to see your princess. Won't call her by name, but see your princess and follow her on your Facebook page and some of the things that she's doing basketball wise, and she's tearing it up. She's a really good student.
Yes.
And she's a great athlete. So that's a tribute to your queen, you and her raising her. And, we talked also about, Mama Parks, that, we lost her recently. And, we're sorry for that because Mama Parks, boy, she was something else.
Yes.
She was something else, boy. She ain't play
At all.
At all. She ain't play, She raised you in the South Side of Chicago and things like that, and came out with a very honorable young man, and I appreciate you and love you, and so as we get into the show, Keith, I did send you some topics that we were going to talk about, and one of the things that is very unique about you is that you ended up being an NCAA Division I student athlete, right? But your journey started in Texas at a NJCA Division I school
Yes,
and then
sir.
you went to Parkland, a Division II, junior college. How did your experience as a junior college student athlete help you to begin your intercollegiate career?
Well, Coach, coming and starting out in the world of JUCO, as everybody calls it really taught me how to be a student first. Coming out of high school, I had Division I basketball talent, but
Carver,
didn't have Division I grades. So
right?
coming into the junior college setting, really gave me an opportunity to understand what going to class was about. Gave me the opportunity to understand the importance of I need to go to class if I want to stay on this campus and if I want to be a part of this team. So just going the junior college route, it really gave me a firsthand, in-depth look at what being a college athlete was all about, because I had no idea being coming in from high school and you think you got it figured out. You was the man in high school. Well, when you get to junior college, everybody's the man. That's why they're there. So just learning those things and the principles that would keep me on the team and keep me in school versus just coming in and having the talent.
And and the thing about it, Keith, is you weren't a bad student, right? You didn't. I don't think the combination of your grades and your ACT was, because when you got to Parkland, you really kind of had it figured out. I mean, you were old soul, right? So you kind of kept to yourself.
Yeah.
I don't got time for all the shenanigans and the party and all that. You were either in the gym,
Yep.
you were in the class, or you were doing something by yourself, probably at the mall trying to get the next pair of J's, because
Yep.
that's KP. What are some of the negative myths about community colleges that were told to you before you became a community college student athlete?
Well, basically, a lot of the stereotypes is, or you can't get to Division I, or you can't go on after that. You're not going to be able to follow your dreams, or you go to junior college, and that's going to be it. But going to junior college and realizing, if you have the talent, no matter where you're at, they're going to find you. They're going to come if you got the talent, if you got the grades. Like you can start at the junior college route, and you can still end up Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA. It's really whatever your skill set desires. It'll place you. So a lot of myths, a lot of guys like to say, oh, it's D1 or bust, and that's definitely not the case. Everybody is not ready right away for D1. You might have the D1 talent, but you might need to learn what it is to be a student athlete. You need to learn what it is to go to class. You need to learn what it is to conduct yourself. A lot of times this is the first time you're away from home, so you battling a lot of the mental health issues of being away from mom, away from dad, away from grandma, and figuring out things on your own. So, that was one of the biggest myths that I heard is, if you don't, JUCO ain't gonna be nothing for you, just like going to play real street ball, really. You could stay at home to do that.
Well, and having someone like yourself at the time that you came in from Texas, your school in Texas, you had already, you know, been through your rookie year, right? Your rookie year, that transitional year from high school to college, and playing for Coach Warren, and I would say that Chris Warren was a player's coach, right? Uh,
Yes, sir.
and and he was a smaller guy in stature, right?
Yeah.
And shared your love of Michael Jordan and shoes, and the aura that Michael Jordan was. After that, he won those six championships, right? We came right after that. We were in that, right? So when you were probably finishing middle school and coming through high school is when all that big aura about Michael Jordan in Chicago for you.
Yep.
um but Keith, you came in, and the game was a little bit slower for you, right? And your work ethic was a little bit different than some of the other individuals that came in under you? I mean, you had Vinny with you. You had I don't was Daryl Baxter there
Yep.
with you,
Yep.
right? You had Teague. You had you had Green with you. I mean, you had players with you, but they were still going through that transitional year that you had gone through. What is some of your advice, Keith, for young men and women that are going, that's transitioning, or the ones that have already been in for a year? What's your advice to them? How can they lead as a student athlete at that JUCO level?
I would basically just tell them to stay the course, you know the expectations of where you are. With my scenario coming from South Plains Junior College in Texas and transferring back to Illinois, I really went through that transformational stage, and I had a great understanding of how they conducted business out at the Division I JUCO level out in Texas. So
Hmm.
I would just tell those student athletes of today, just stay the course and make sure the emphasis stays on student. Make sure they have great character. Make sure that they're doing the right things off the court, because a lot of times our talent will get us to the room, but it's our discipline that will keep us in the room. So just making sure that we are ever mindful of who we're hanging out with. We're ever mindful of the things we're posting on our social media, making sure we're ever mindful of the way we're carrying ourselves, how we conducting ourselves, because that's today's age. When coaches are coming to recruit and they're thinking about bringing you to their college or universities, yeah, they know you can play, but they want to know what type of family you're coming from. They want to know, how are you going to conduct yourself? They want to know, do you exercise self-control? Are you coachable? So I would tell the student athletes of today, remain coachable, remain humble. Even if you think you know it all, sometimes just close your mouth and let the coach do the coaching, and you focus and put your emphasis on being the player.
That's great advice, Keith. That's terrific advice, and I know that you're giving that same advice to the young players that you coach now. And you also had a experience as a student athlete at the NCAA Division two level, right? Because you were a player at the University of North Dakota, and NCAA, Division two athletics have a lot to offer student athletes and and students alike. What was your experience at Division two University of North Dakota that eventually became Division One, University of North Dakota? What was your experience there?
Man, my experience, it was great. I was recruited, as you know, by probably over 250 schools, coming
Hmm.
out. So, I
Yep.
saved myself those 5 visits. I sat down with you, Coach Warren, my mom, my high school coach, and, we listed out, those 5 schools of where I was going. And, just being able to go out to North Dakota and experience the atmosphere, experience the facilities that they had, it was really like an NBA atmosphere out in North Dakota, and a lot of people wouldn't expect that. But the D2 scene, which was my junior year of actually going out there, they were under the D2 umbrella. And shortly with the end of the junior year, we transitioned over to the Division I umbrella. And when I tell you, going D2, we were already operating as a D1, from facilities to uniforms to just everything,
Travel. Hmm.
travel, how we travel, taking flights. We were already doing that Division I thing, and that's how that switch and swap was really easy. But North Dakota is life changing. That really helped me grow up and be a man. 15 hours away from Mama Parks, I couldn't just get there on weekends. Brother
Right.
had to figure it out.
Right.
Like,
Right.
ain't no coming home. You know how the weather is up there. Sometimes it's 50 degrees, you snowed in, 50 below zero, you snowed in.
Below.
So like, you got to really figure out life. So just that whole experience, and being able to go in the room with other student athletes there, and showing I belong, not only from a basketball standpoint, but from an education standpoint. I'm just as good. I can get the same education that you all can get. And, I
Absolutely.
really got that opportunity to prove myself and be able to coincide in that environment.
All right, all right. We're with Mr. Keith Parks, former law enforcement officer, former uh, Hall of Fame inductee at the junior college level at Parkland College. We're going to be right back with From the AD's View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. We'll be right back after this break.
I'm Leon Thomas with the Leon Thomas Group. Podcast, virtual events, webinars, streaming shows, and so much more. We want to be your partner in all things virtual.
Welcome back. You're watching From the AD's View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Be sure to watch us each Sunday evening at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern for more open and honest discussions from the AD's View. If you'd like to connect with me, you can reach me on my Instagram, From the AD's View, or you can reach me on my website, which is cedricmbrown.org, or you can reach me on my email at cmbrownsportmanagement@yahoo.com. You can reach me at any of those avenues, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. But let's bring back our guest, Mr. Keith Parks, my former player, um, surrogate son. He's a young man that I'm so proud of, that he's accomplished so much in such a young in such a small window of his young career. As you can see on the screen there, this year he was the 2023 Coach of the Year there in South Carolina. Keith, how did the season go for you, man? How'd
Season
it go?
was season was phenomenal, man. We had a great ride this year. We had one of the top players in the state that transferred back his senior year, and Mr. Jalen Jefferson, and he just really did a lot for the team this year. He did a lot for the community, and just packing back out the stands, people coming in. So we went to the second round of the playoffs, something that hasn't been done in North since the early 2000s. We actually won the first round of the playoffs, and we've hosted a home playoff game, something that hasn't been done since the late 1990s at North. So we finished this year 20-8. We had a coach's choice coach of the year myself. We had Jalen Jefferson. He was all state. He was all region. Actually led the entire state in scoring at over 25 a game. So it was just a phenomenal year. Our younger guys, they got better every day. They came to work every day. So just being able to transform that team and just give those young men hope and give that community hope and see something different, and having the expectation of, now I know what it's like to win. For so long, people have told me I can't win, or we can't do that here. And, here comes the kid from Chicago, bringing hope, putting them in position. Yeah, you can win. Yeah, you can do it now. Yes, you are successful, and just bringing that light to the way that we run athletics at North and the way that I run that basketball team at North.
That is amazing, Keith. And I want to go back to something that we were talking about before the break. You were in North Dakota, and I was in South Dakota at South Dakota State
Yes.
University, and we had a chance to play twice. Didn't we end up 1-1?
Yes, you did. You did.
Ended up 1-1, and
But what I might add, the one you won is when I tore my ACL, I was out.
See why you gotta tell all the secrets, man? Why you gotta tell all the secrets? But you know, our um relationship, right, has gone from 2001, and a big part of why I was able to go to South Dakota State University is because the coaching staff at that time were recruiting you, and they knew how close you and I were. And you know, and one thing that I can say is um, they knew that they wanted me to come as a GA, right?
Yep.
They wanted me to bring you as a student athlete, but our relationship was so good that, you know, you asked my advice. I told you what I thought it was going to be, but you made the best decision for you. And I might add that the fact that Phil Jackson was a former North Dakota grad himself probably had a little influence because he coached somebody that you grew up to be a fan of for a long time, and that's Mr. Michael Jordan.
Yes, sir. When the alumni get together and the alumni call and one just happened to be Phil Jackson, you gotta listen to that. you gotta listen to Phil, so that, and that's why I have so much respect for you, coach. Like, it's bigger than basketball, and it always has. From the day that I stepped foot in 2001 in Champaign, Illinois, and I stepped on Parkland College campus. You were like that father figure. You and Coach Warren, just Kaliko, Sonny, just the guys in that community embracing me and actually showing me that, they wanted me to be a part of Parkland. They wanted me to be a part of that community. So, the trust that I gave you, it was earned from day one, because, you were a stewardess of your word. Everything that you said, you wasn't one of those coaches that say, do this. You were one of those coaches that was leading by example. Heck, you were taking classes when we were in class. So, to see our coach still furthering his education, that does something for us as young men. Like, man, coaching class, I know my butt can go to class, and seeing you pop off degrees and seeing you, take off and have these coaching opportunities, man, coming from New York where people didn't give you a chance. So, our stories coming from those big cities and, going other places, and we flourish, and that comes with putting the right people around us. So, yes, I called and I asked your opinion, and I thank you to this day. You wasn't biased. You told me what a young man needed to hear. Like, you have to make this decision, but you have to make this decision on what's best for you. And I
Absolutely.
respect you so much for that, man.
Absolutely, man. And speaking of being the biggest fan, you are the biggest Michael Jordan fan that I know. Um, how was the movie Air? Because you know, I'm like I'm pops. You know, I'm your pop. So I troll all on your social medias, and I saw you sitting in the movie theater with your bag of popcorn. How was the movie Air, man?
The movie Air was good, man. I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't had an opportunity to see it, but it had nothing to do with Michael Jordan. So if you thinking you're going to see the Six Rings, the wonderful run with the Bulls, nah, it's not that. But what it did do and what it did talk about, is so many hidden bones and secrets in that movie that just came to the forefront. You got to be able to turn on that third eye, which is your mind, when you go to that movie, because it's dropping nuggets throughout the whole movie, and your third eye really got to be on to pick those up. So, everybody knows the whole Michael Jordan of the Chicago Bulls, but, this is a black mother who made sure that her son, that the market didn't take advantage of her son. So now the market wanted to pay one price, but mama come back as a black mom and say, no, my son is going to be a household name. We're not just going to get that one paycheck. Every time you sell something with the Jordan name attached, we're going to get paid. So just those little things that the protective mom does, and coming from a single parent home, and mom is making sure that, that us as young men, we're being taken care of. That movie really opened up hindsight. It really viewed how, these mid Fortune 500 companies, how they operate and how they want to keep all the money in, and and shows you the list. And it really relates to college recruiting. They had a list of guys that they wanted to go after that was future NBA players, and that's
Right.
what college coaches do. You got that recruiting list. If I can't get a Keith Parks, there's a Cedric Brown. I can't get a Cedric Brown, there's a Keith Parks. So, that movie really opened up a lot of things that, we kind of went through with that whole racial segregation thing early on. And it really just showed that, if you believe in yourself, you can accomplish everything. It talked about how much money Jordan is still getting to this day every time a pair of shoes are sold, so it really talked about his billionaire status and how he got there. It wasn't just him. It was having that mom who understood and who marketed him and made sure that her baby didn't get took advantage of. So I love the movie.
Miss Dolores wasn't playing. She
No,
was
at
not
all.
playing at all. She just like Mama Parks.
Yeah.
She just like Patricia Ann Brown. She's not playing when it comes to her baby, right?
Yeah.
So, Coach, we talk about Rotten Tomatoes and you see it. What percentage would you give it between 0 to 100%? If you were doing Rotten Tomatoes, what would you give that movie?
I would give that movie about a 92%. It was good.
Good movie?
Yeah.
Well worth looking at. Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And what J's did you have on at the movie, Coach?
Man, I had on my original 1985 Air Jordan 1s, the re-image. They just did a retro release on them not too long ago. So I broke those out the box and I wore those. That's what the movie was centered around, the Air Jordan 1 of 1985. So that's the one I wore.
That's the ones you had.
The
black, red, and white, black and white. I mean, black and white, black, red, and white. What color were they?
The black, red, and white, the original Bulls colorway.
Okay. All right. Coach, you were recently inducted into the Parkland College Hall of Fame. Tell us about that experience.
Man, that is one of the best collegiate experiences. To get that phone call, with so many great players that have come through Parkland, so many great players that are at Parkland, and to get that phone call to say that I was going to be inducted really was kind of like a dream come true. I just didn't think it would happen that fast, but God saw the path, and He ordered that and He ordained that, and just one of the best feelings. Thanks to Coach Chris Warren, thanks to our former athletic director, Rod Lovett. Thanks to our current athletic director, Brendan Hale there, Coach Sonny, just that whole community, man, the former players, my teammates, because the actual Hall of Fame inductee, it comes from my teammates. They put me in position, to be able to do the things that I was able to do there on the basketball court while at Parkland. So, that's something that no matter what happens, that's hanging on the rafters, that's on the wall there, that's concrete for forever. So I'm just blessed to be able to have that opportunity. A lot of players play the game and they don't get that opportunity. So for me to be able to get that opportunity to go back to Parkland, my mom was there, so just to live that whole day with me, that's one of the best memories. And, I'll take that with me forever.
Absolutely. And, Anthony Figueroa was the head coach at that time, but, you had, played, open gyms back in the day with Coach Fig and Sonny and Kaliko and, Coach Butler and Vinny's brother. I mean, you had played with all those fellas early on in a career, and then to come back and then to have, Anthony Figueroa as a head coach, Kaliko Bowie as an assistant coach, right? To come back and be a part of your Hall of Fame induction must have been special, man. And then to have Mama Parks there with you, that must have been special as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. I remember when I first came down, I made contact to come to Parkland, and they was like, well, we do open gyms. We ain't going to say we got room on the team, but come down in open gym and let us see you play, and then we can talk about it. So I remember like yesterday walking in that gym, man, Mac Boo in there, Kaliko, bald head sweating. They talking about that's the man right there. That's the man. I said, okay, well, I got him and he got me. We're going to see how the day go. But just to see Kaliko, just to see Fig, man, the way that those guys played the game at such a high level, at the end of their careers, but still playing the game at the high level, man, I just had so much respect. And then when I came in and after the first game of the open run, they was like, you trying to sign here? Like, Coach Warren, like, where's scholarship at? So
Right.
they've just been a support system from day one. Even in going back with when Coach Fig was the head coach there, just going back and mentoring those young men and going back and talking to them and giving them my experiences, it just means so much. So those relationships, those brotherhoods form, it'll always be bigger than basketball. I can pick up the phone and call any one of y'all right now, and y'all gonna make sure I got what I need, and vice versa. So those brotherhood formed through Parkland College in Champaign, Illinois, man, from 2001 all the way now. Like, it's a dream come true, man. I couldn't be more happier with that support system and that brotherhood.
Absolutely. And Keith, before we get out of here, obviously, I when I finish the show, I like to talk about what God has done for me, and the faithfulness that He's shown me. How has faith shaped your life, Keith?
Man, faith is the only thing that has me operational. It's the only thing that has me sane. Faith is everything. That's what it allowed me to endure the death of my mom. That's what hasn't allowed me to endure the strifes of going through law enforcement, the good old boy system, not being a good old boy. The faith. God has placed me once again where He sees fit for me to continue the work that I do, to be of service to Him, which is being of service to these young kids and these communities, and the community that I work in and the community that I coach in, and just being there for these young men and these young ladies and leading this athletic department. So faith is everything, man. That's the only thing that gets me through day to day. Without faith, we have nothing. So faith for me has molded my life. Faith for me has put me in position, and God says that, with a humble heart and a humble mind, all things are possible. And God knows my heart. He knows I'm in the business for kids, empowering kids, giving their kids these opportunities to reach their necks, so faith has been everything for me. That's what made me survive the South Side of Chicago, the faith of a praying mother, the faith of coaches and walking me to my neck. So faith is everything.
I appreciate that, Keith, man, and I thank you so much for sharing your a little bit of your life with us, and sharing who you are, and the positive impact that you've had on young people and you've had on communities, from being a sheriff to being a chief of police 3 times, and now coming back inside of a community, being an athletic director, and also helping the resource officers that you were in charge of then, and now coming back into the school system. Keith, if individuals want to get in contact with you, they're going to put it up on the screen. How can they get in touch with you? I think you have an email there.
Yeah, I have an email there, and also I'm on Facebook at Keith Parks. I'm on Snapchat, KParks1041. So those are my point of contacts. If I can be of help to anybody, feel free to shoot me an email to that email address, and I will make sure I respond accordingly. Or if they want to get in contact with you, Coach, you know how to reach me direct. So we can go from there.
Well, Keith, as always, man, I love you. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your spirit, who you are. Keep working with the princess, and you and the queen keep doing what you're doing, because one of these days we're gonna be at a Final Four watching her play,
Yes, sir.
cutting down them nets.
Yes, sir.
One day. So, well, you stay with us. Go back into the green room and stay with us afterwards. But I really appreciate you, man. I thank you and I love you.
I love you too, Coach.
All right. I'd like to thank today's guest, Mr. Keith Parks, for being on the show. Don't forget to join us each Sunday evening at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern for more open and honest discussions from the AD's view. Good night and God bless.